Hi, I'm Steve, and I'm a Trekkie.
William Shatner, and I think Steve Saylor's wonderful.
I wanted to record this video to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, one of my favorite series of all time, because the original air date of the very first episode aired on September 8th, 1966, and it is literally a series that changed my life. So this video is going to be talking about my favorite memories related to Star Trek that became a cornerstone of my fandom, of becoming a nerd, and including even my very first date. When I was born, a year before Wrath of Khan came out in theaters, and it wasn't until a year later that Search for Spock would come out, and it wasn't even until 4 years later that Star Trek The Next Generation wouldn't even premiere. And yet, I just always knew about Star Trek. I think I would have to give credit to my dad because he had me grow up on shows like Batman 1966 TV show, Lost in Space, and including Star Trek. At a young age, I knew it was very cheesy, and yet it still drew me in with just the swashbuckling space adventures of Captain James T. Kirk and Commander Spock and Dr. Leonard McCoy, also known as Bones. I just love those three characters together, and once Star Trek Next Generation came along, I got hooked line and sinker. I enjoyed the movies, I enjoyed the series, I devoured every episode that kind of came out afterwards, including Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and even a little bit of Enterprise when it was still on the air. One of my favorite memories was growing up as a kid. I was watching Star Trek Voyager, and I remember it was a two-part episode that they aired back-to-back as sort of like a TV premiere movie, and it was an episode with Star Trek Voyager when they encountered the Borg. And I remember watching it, and during commercials, I would call my best friend, who was literally 2 doors down, who was also watching the episode, and we would talk about all the things that happened before the commercial break, and saying like, "Ooh, how are they going to get out of this one? Ooh, this could be cool if they turned into this." And then as soon as the commercials ended, we're like, "Okay, I'll call you back." And then I would hang up, and then I would continue watching for 2 hours. And even though at the time I didn't realize that it was sort of a geeky, nerdy thing to do, it was still such a fandom that I really got into, and it wasn't until much later that I realized I was a geek because of that show. I've been very lucky to be able to talk to at least two of my heroes from that show. Of course, as you heard at the beginning, William Shatner, the Shat himself, Captain James Tiberius Kirk. That was an honor that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the fact that the station I worked for had an opportunity to be able to interview Captain Kirk himself. And I was asked, because I was the only Trekkie in the office that would have been able to talk to him. And I remember calling him up on the phone, and it was one of the most enjoyable conversations I ever had in my life. And I couldn't stop smiling as I was asking those questions and just hearing his answers. Third memory that I have of Star Trek, and this is actually revolves my very first date. I was just out of high school, and my family was living in a town called Owen Sound. My dad had got a job up there working for a church, and there was a few people in the church I kind of became friends with really quickly. One of them was a fellow Star Trek fan, and I won't say her name, but she and we became friends, and I was so glad that I was able to find somebody that also liked Star Trek just as much as I did. She including had something up that I didn't have, which was she had a Star Trek communicator badge that I remember I was very jealous of that she had it. At the time, it was around my birthday, and Star Trek Nemesis was about to come out. I just remember, the thing is about that movie, it's not a great Star Trek movie, I'll fully admit. However, it premiered on my birthday, and I was so excited to see it on a Star Trek movie on my birthday that I asked this girl out to come and watch it with me. And she was excited. Both her and I were excited. We were and the thing is, my dad had to drive me to her house to pick her up because, of course, even after high school, I don't drive for obvious reasons. And it just felt awkward that he had to drive me to pick me up, and he went with me to the movie theater too. She actually wore her communicator badge to the movie, and I was like, this is pretty awesome. And so we go to the theater. I remember her and I sitting together. I think my dad actually sat a row behind me to kind of give us some privacy. But we didn't really talk much, but we just sort of like whispered to each other as the movie was happening. And I enjoyed the movie mostly just from that reason, that it was something that I could enjoy with someone, and it was great. I wish I could be able to say that first date turned into a second. It didn't, but I just remember that. I just think of that memory, and I'm like, that is cool that my first date was to see a Star Trek movie, and I don't know, it was pretty neat. So. Anyway. Oh, I am literally tearing up talking about Star Trek. Oy! Okay. Pull it together, Steve! So that's it. I just kind of wanted to give my quick thoughts about a series that I love in more of a vlog type format. And I hope you at least enjoyed that or could relate to a certain degree if you're a Star Trek fan. Are you a Star Trek fan? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know your favorite memories about Star Trek. And I hope to be able to see you again in my next video. Now, I normally like to be able to end these videos saying, as always, I remain obediently yours. I would be remiss if I didn't end it this way. Live long and prosper.